Hello, my name is Daniel Yumi King and I will show you my project 2 for week 3, part 1. We can start on the routes folder. As you see, I have my routes for the managers collection and employees collection, so we can split that in two files. On the employees file inside the routes folder, you see I have all the CRUD operations, which is get all, get it by ID, post, put, and delete. And I also use middleware. So the first middleware is it holds my validation rules, and the second one is to validate the ID. So I use the validate ID in all the routes that requires an ID to do the operation. For example, the get ID, put ID, and delete ID. And I use the validation middleware rules in all the routes that I need. In where I insert data in the collections. For example, in the post and put operations, I use that middleware. So I do the same thing with the managers folder. As you see, all the routes and the two middlewares that I showed before. So we can go to the middleware. This is my validation rules for the employees collection. And these ones are all the validation rules for the managers collection, and this is the validate ID that I use for both, for managers and for IDs. And I also have an error handler, which I will show you later. That error handler is connected to the server.js file, the main file, and is connected to the controllers files, employees and managers. So we can go to the controllers folder. As you see, all my functions here uses try and catch blocks. Inside the try block, it handles if something happens inside the try block, it will show an error message and it will throw an error, and if something happens outside the try block, it will handle it on the catch block, which handles the next operation, the next parameter, and that parameter will hit the server.js file, which will hit my middleware, the error handler right here. And that error handler is connected and will hit to the middleware error handler right here. So if something happens outside the try block, it will be for an internal server error, which will handle this code right here. So as you see, all my functions do the same structure, try and catch blocks with error handlers, and I also do the same thing for the managers collections, try and catch blocks with error handlers inside the try block and with the error handler outside the try block in the catch block. As you see here, I have my swagger.json file, which has all the paths and routes, get all, post, get by ID, put, and delete, and the same for the employees collection, get all, post, get by ID, put, and delete. We can go to my URL production URL. As you see here, I have both routes for managers and routes for employees. We are going to start with employees with we can reload the page. We start with 7 employees. 7 employees. We can start with employees collections, try it out, execute. We retrieve all the 7 employees right here. We can create a new employee, try it out. We can test our validation rules right now. For example, if we try to send the form like that, it will show a 412 code with the invalid value, which is the work email. So we need to update that. gmail.com, and we'll change this Pedro, execute, and it will throw 201 of code, successful code with successful message and the ID. Copy this ID. If we can reload the page, and it will see that we'll have 8 employees instead of 7 because it worked, and we have Pedro. We can retrieve the contact and we get a successful code with the contact ID. We can update the employee, sorry. Here we can keep the same. We can let's just change the name. Execute, and employee updated successfully. We reload the page in the MongoDB, and we see that right now the name changed to Lily instead of Pedro, so it's working. And we can try to test the delete operation, and we can test our error handlers as well. For example, if we change the last number for 9, it will show a 404 error with no found code. And if we try to just do a invalid format, like just a letter, it will throw a 400 error with invalid ID format. But if we throw the correct ID, it will delete the employee and will show the correct 200 code. So we can reload the page, and instead of 8 employees will show 7 now. As you see, and at the bottom we don't have Lily anymore. Now we can test the same thing for the managers folder, managers collection. We can test, try it out, execute, and it will retrieve all the 7 with a 200 code. We can create a new manager, same thing like that. It will throw the 412 code with invalid value, work email. We can update that, and the name, just we can see we'll create Raul, execute, manager created successfully. We can get the manager ID. Let's reload the page. We'll start with 7. Now we'll have 8 with the new manager, and at the bottom is Raul. We can retrieve the contact Raul. We can update the contact, instead of Raul, Yole, execute, manager update successfully, and that should be all. Thank you.